What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler and can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, September 23rd. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as we have some season enders, beginning with starting pitcher Mackenzie Gore, who was placed on the 15-day IL with an ankle impingement. His season is over, and the injury sort of makes sense given his last start was cut short after just a pair of innings. Pretty solid campaign for Mackenzie Gore. Would call this somewhat of a breakout, better than his previous campaigns. Not quite to the degree that we thought he'd break out, but still a great campaign for Mackenzie Gore. Unfortunately, it's over. And in a corresponding move, relief pitcher Orlando Ribalta was recalled from the minors. Next, outfielder Andrew Benintendi was placed on the 10-day IL with Achilles tendonitis. Benintendi is done for the season and will hand off left field duties for the White Sox to Will Robertson. He'll be on the strong side of a platoon, likely with Corey Julks, who was selected from the minors after Benintendi was placed on the IL. And lastly, second baseman Ozzie Albies was placed on the 10-day IL with a fractured hamate. This injury ends his season and will likely require surgery in the offseason. With Albies vacating second base, Brett Wisely was recalled from the minors and will be on the strong side of a Keystone platoon with Nick Allen. In terms of transactions, outfielder Anthony Santander was activated from the 60-day IL after missing multiple months with shoulder inflammation. Santander, curiously, did not start in his first game back with the Blue Jays, but he's expected to see time in the outfield and at DH in Toronto. In a corresponding move, first baseman Ty France was placed on the 10-day IL with oblique inflammation, and to make room on the 40-man roster, starting pitcher Alek Manoah was designated for assignment. It will be interesting to see where he latches on, if he latches on. He was a pitcher that was so promising in the first couple seasons of his career and has completely disappeared. I actually forgot about him for a while and was researching how well he was doing in the minors the other day. Not as good as you'd hoped, but hopefully a change of scenery can get Manoah back to the majors. Next, shortstop Xander Bogaerts was activated from the 10-day IL after missing time with a non-displaced fracture in his foot. Bogaerts returned to being the Padres' everyday shortstop, shifting Jake Cronenworth to second base and Luis Arias to DH, which forced Gavin Sheets to the bench. Next, starting pitcher Hunter Barco was selected from the minors by the Pirates. He's their number 4 prospect and is the number 82 prospect in baseball, according to MLB Pipeline. Barco, between AA and AAA, pitched to a 2.81 ERA and a 1.20 whip with a 28% strikeout rate, but he's not expected to join the Pirates rotation down the stretch and will instead pitch out of the bullpen during his brief cup of coffee. Barco made his MLB debut on Tuesday, pitching a scoreless 6th inning, and in a corresponding move, relief pitcher Evan Sisk was optioned to the minors. And lastly, catcher Ryan Jeffers was activated from the 7-day concussion IL. The Twins really recently have gotten both of their everyday catchers back from the IL, as Christian Vasquez was just activated yesterday. Vasquez will be forced to the bench to be Jeffers' backup, but at least he'll have a job in the majors, unlike Johnny Pereda, who was optioned to the minors. In terms of news, MLB announced they'll be using the ABS challenge system next year, automatic ball strike system. Hopefully that works. I think it's going to be a great change for the league. It'll allow teams to challenge at least twice per game. I'm pretty sure it's just 2 fails and then you're done with the challenges. But if you don't fail, and I think you get to keep challenging those calls. So we'll see. Should be a big change in baseball next year. Excited to see some more accuracy with pitch calling. And lastly, shortstop Corey Seager and second baseman Marcus Semien have been shut down for the rest of the season as the Rangers' playoff hopes have been scratched. Now we can take a look at our notable performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had a full slate of 15 games. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with outfielder Michael Harris II, who helped the Braves to win against the Nationals, going 2 for 3 with 2 runs, 2 homers, and 2 runs batted in. He's up to 19 homers on the year now. First one traveled 444 feet at 108 miles per hour, and the second one went 424 feet at 109 miles per hour. And it's been a steep fall off for Harris, who once finished runner-up in Rookie of the Year voting and inked an 8-year, $72 million extension a couple years ago. Last year was the first glimpse at Harris's potential decline as his WRC plus fell below league average, but his underperformance on the field could be blamed on injuries that kept him to just 110 games. So there was still hope that Harris hadn't completely fallen off, but this year's been even worse as Harris sits with a 670 OPS and a 77 WRC plus. His playing time, though, has not wavered as he has not missed a single game for the Braves. That, in combination with the 3 bags he stole on Monday, so the extra playing time, as well as the 3 bags he stole yesterday and the pair of homers he had on Tuesday, put him on the precipice of the first 2020 campaigns of his career. He's at 19 homers and 19 steals. And honestly, that has allowed Harris to remain fantasy relevant despite the terrible real life implications of his hitting. But can we expect Harris to return to star status next year? Baseball Savant suggests he's been very unlucky this year, but career lows in barrel rate and hard hit rate point to a hitter that isn't impacting the ball like he once was able to. And on top of that, Harris has become the most impatient hitter in baseball, sporting a 2% walk rate that's the lowest among qualified hitters. If Harris can learn to become more selective, all-star campaigns are on the horizon. But if he doesn't, I still think he'll be coveted in fantasy leagues because of his power speed potential and the deep lineup around him. Lastly, we have outfielder Heriberto Hernandez, who helped the Marlins to win in Philly, going 3 for 5 with a run, a double, a home run, and an RBI. It was his 10th homer, and it traveled 380 feet at 108 miles per hour. Hernandez has now played half a season for the Marlins and appears to be a solidly above average hitter with a 111 WRC plus. He displays decent power that could lead to 20 plus homer campaigns in the future, and he doesn't strike out too much, allowing him to maintain a digestible batting average, which sits at 269 currently on the season. I could envision Hernandez having a sophomore slump next year that could take him completely off the fantasy radar as the league adjusts to him. But he's only become more selective at the plate as the season's worn on, suggesting that Hernandez is somewhat of a professional hitter and won't have prolonged slumps. Hernandez will be more of a 15-team play next year because of his lack of upside or a clear standout skill. But if he keeps getting playing time for the Marlins, he'll be a difference maker for those deep league squads. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Tuesday, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Gavin Williams, who helped the Guardians to win against the Tigers, tossing 6 innings, allowing 4 hits and 2 earned runs while walking 2 and striking out 12. He induced 18 whiffs with 44% CSW across 91 pitches, and Williams outdueled Derek Skubal as the Guardians tied the Tigers for the division lead in the AL Central. Williams was electric, earning the golden goal on Tuesday as his 18 whiffs led baseball to earn in the Gallows Bowl, and he also earned the King Cole as his 44% CSW also led baseball. This probably wasn't Williams' last start of the season, but he's putting the finishing touches on an impressive breakout campaign and has been wrapping up his season in dominant fashion as the righty has a 2.18 ERA in 12 second half starts while striking out 28% of the batters he's faced during that time. The biggest change this season for Williams has been a reliance on a deeper arsenal, but it was his bread and butter that found success on Tuesday as his heater sat 97 with 33% CSW, while his curveball and sweeper dominated, combining for 13 whiffs and 42% CSW. Quietly, sort of under the radar, his sinker and cutter made a huge difference, stealing strikes and keeping the pressure off of his four-seamer, combining for 59% CSW across a quarter of his offerings on Tuesday. Williams was my main breakout starting pitcher pick this year, and it took some work in season for him to get there, but I feel completely vindicated in that suggestion. If the Guardians' playoffs hopes are still on the line later this week on Sunday, Williams will start versus Texas next. And lastly, we have McCade Brown, who did all he could, but the Rockies lost in Seattle. Brown tossed 5 innings, allowing 2 hits and 1 earned run, walking 2 while striking out 10, inducing 15 whiffs with 40% CSW across 81 pitches. And all I can say is, what? This is completely out of nowhere for Brown, as he had the best start of his young career. And when I say this was surprising, it's not an understatement at all. Through his first 5 starts, Brown held a 9.17 ERA and totaled 11 strikeouts in 5 starts. And then On Tuesday, he nearly matched that number of strikeouts in just one start with 10, while holding a playoff team to just one run across 5 frames. Brown's velocity was up across the board, almost 2 miles per hour up on his sinker, which led to him relying on the pitch, which now sat 96 miles per hour to the tune of 60% usage. The sinker lived up in the zone, returning 9 whiffs and 37% CSW as he blew it by the Mariners' bats all night. Brown didn't need much help outside the sinker, but his slider came through with a trio of whiffs and a whopping 78% CSW, while curveballs and changeups chipped in as well. This is a start for Brown to celebrate, but given the track record, the team he plays for, and the home park that he calls home, Brown is not someone we want to chase in fantasy, even in San Francisco up next. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Tuesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves, starting with the former. Cade Smith recorded his 16th save with a perfect ninth. Dennis Santana pitched a hitless ninth for his 15th save. Aroldis Chapman recorded his 32nd save with a perfect ninth. Raisel Iglesias pitched a hitless ninth for his 28th save. Edwin Diaz pitched a perfect 2-inning save for his 27th save of the season. Cole Sands recorded his 3rd save with a perfect ninth. Andres Munoz also pitched a perfect ninth for his 38th save. And lastly, Riley O'Brien recorded his 6th save as he got the final out of the game after Jojo Romero got the first 2 outs of the ninth, earning his 24th hold in the process. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Kyle Finnegan allowed a run while recording the final out of the 7th inning with the Tigers trailing. Yohan Duran served up a game-tying homer in the 9th to blow his 5th save, and the Phillies would go on to lose that one in 11 innings. Calvin Fauché pitched before a rain delay. He didn't get anybody out, and he didn't go back out after the rain delay, so recorded no outs in that outing. Jordan Leisure pitched a hitless 7th for his 14th hold. Andrew Kittredge pitched a perfect 7th as well in a tie game for the Cubs that they would go on to lose in 9 frames. Tanner Scott allowed 2 runs in the 9th to blow his 10th save and take his 4th loss. Victor Vodnik allowed inherited runners to score to blow his 5th save. And lastly, Ryan Walker gave up a pair of runs in the 9th to blow his 7th save and take his 7th loss. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before I look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now look forward to Wednesday, September 24th, a day in which we'll have a full slate of 15 games starting at 12:15 p.m. Eastern time. So get your lineups set early. My matchup of the day is Paul Skeens versus Hunter Green. Not only do we have an intra-division matchup, but we get 2 absolute flamethrowers. It should be fun to watch regardless of the outcome. We'll just see both Skeens and Hunter Green pumping 100-mile-per-hour heat. It's going to be a blast. In terms of probable starters, we've got 11 guys in the auto starts tier, including Skeens and Green. We've also got Garrett Crochet in Toronto, Max Fried versus the White Sox, and Blake Snell in Arizona. Our probably starts tier has 8 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Steven Kolek against the Angels in LA. Kolek has been on a tear recently, and while it doesn't feel completely sustainable, the Angels lineup isn't that great, and there's something to be said about Kolek's recent success. So if you want to stream on Wednesday, Kolek is your guy. I'd also keep an eye out for Bryce Elder versus the Nationals. He's sort of in the same boat where, completely unsustainable for Elder, but he's been on a really good run recently, and the Nationals lineup is not one that gives you pause. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Kerry Carpenter versus Tanner Bybee in Progressive Field. Carpenter has batted .300 with a homer and a 1,000 OPS in 10 at-bats against Bybee. I'd also look at O'Neill Cruz versus Hunter Green in Great American Ballpark. Cruz has batted .286 with a pair of homers and an 1161 OPS in 14 at-bats against Green. I'd also look at Francisco Lindor versus Matthew Boyd in Wrigley Field. Lindor has batted .361 with 2 homers and a 1021 OPS in 36 at-bats against Boyd. I'd also look at Mickey Moniak versus Luis Castillo in T-Mobile Park. Moniak has batted .286 with 2 homers and a 1,000 OPS in 14 at-bats. Willy Adames is also somebody to target versus Sonny Gray in Oracle Park. Adames has batted .313 with a homer and an 1105 OPS in 16 at-bats. And lastly, Yainer Diaz is somebody to target versus Luis Severino in Sutter Health Park. Diaz has batted .400 with 2 homers and a 1,400 OPS in 10 at-bats against Severino. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Raisel Iglesias has pitched in 3 of the past 4, so we could see Tyler Kinley get a save up for the Braves. Edwin Diaz has pitched in 3 of the past 4 and through 2 innings on Tuesday, so we could see Ryan Helsley get a save up for the Mets on Wednesday. And lastly, Jojo Romero has pitched on back-to-back days and in 3 of the past 4. Riley O'Brien has also pitched in 3 of the past 4, so we could see somebody like Kyle Leahy get a save opportunity for the Cardinals on Wednesday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on socials at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast, and make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.